Good morning. Here's your daily intelligence briefing for February 14th, 2026. Let's get right into the operational roadmap for the day.
All right, first up, we're covering the huge election result out of Bangladesh and what it means right now. Then we'll jump over to the US for a major policy pivot on climate regulation. In the corporate world, we've got our eye on a really tough quarter for Ola Electric, a landmark Supreme Court ruling on Spectrum, and an update on India's wheat exports. And finally, we'll wrap things up with a look at inflation metrics and the final market numbers. So let's begin.
All right, let's dive into our lead story. A really landmark election in Bangladesh has just produced a decisive result. And this is a big deal because it ends a long period of political uncertainty. So what happened? Well, after nearly 2 decades out of power, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP, along with its allies, has just pulled off a landslide victory. This pretty much paves the way for their leader, Tariq Rahman, to form the next government. It's a massive political shift for the country.
And when we say landslide, we mean it. The BNP coalition snagged a whopping 212 seats out of the 299 that were up for grabs. That gives them an absolutely commanding majority to govern with, no ambiguity there.
But it's not like the opposition has vanished. The Jamaat-e-Islami and their allied parties, they still managed to secure 77 seats. So you can bet they're going to have a substantial and very vocal presence in the new parliament.
Now, this is a really interesting part of the story. The party that was backed by all those recent youth activists, the ones who were a huge force on the streets, well, all that energy translated into just 6 seats. It really points to a clear disconnect between mobilizing protests and actually winning legislative power.
So what does this all mean? The implication is crystal clear. The new government's success is now all about execution. They've got to restore national stability, rebuild both public and economic confidence, and just avoid political gridlock after months of chaos. And the BNP seems to get this. They've already asked their supporters to keep celebrations low-key to avoid stirring up tensions.
All right, let's move on to macro, politics, and governance. We have 3 key updates here.
First up, we're seeing a major pivot in Washington on climate regulation. The Trump administration is moving to dismantle the legal foundations for federal climate rules. Their claim, it'll unlock over $1 trillion in savings. But you have critics, including former President Obama, warning that this rollback is going to make people less safe. So it looks like this whole fight is now headed for the courts.
Next, there's been a pretty significant development in a U.S. court case that has international ties. An individual named Nikol Gupti has pleaded guilty in Manhattan to murder for hire charges. Now, while some reports are trying to connect this to a wider plot, the government of India has officially denied any involvement whatsoever, stating that actions like these are completely contrary to its policy.
And staying in India, the Tamil Nadu government has just announced a really substantial welfare payment right before the state elections. This is a move that could definitely have a big impact on the outcome. We're talking about a one-time credit of 5,000 rupees going to 1.31 crore women who are the heads of their families.
So, where's that 5,000 rupees coming from? Well, it's a mix of things. You've got this month's standard payment, a 2-month advance, and then a special payment of 2,000 rupees on top. And here's the kicker, it's all tied to a powerful campaign pledge to double the regular monthly amount if they get reelected. You can be sure that's going to be a huge talking point.
Okay, let's switch gears to our corporate and business intelligence briefing.
First up today, things are looking rough for Ola Electric. We're seeing a really sharp slowdown. Year-on-year revenue for the quarter, down a steep 57% to 504 crore rupees. And vehicle deliveries fell even further, dropping by 61%. And the financial picture behind this is, frankly, dire. The company reported a net loss of 487 crore rupees for the quarter. So what are they doing about it? A massive restructuring. They are slashing their retail footprint from over 4,000 stores all the way down to just 700, and they're laying off 5% of their workforce.
Next, we have a really crucial Supreme Court ruling that's going to have major ripple effects in the telecom sector. The court has decided that Spectrum, the valuable airwaves that mobile companies need, it can't be sold off when a company goes bankrupt. This is a huge deal. It closes off a key way for lenders to get their money back and means that Spectrum goes right back to the Department of Telecommunications.
Now for some more positive news, this time on the commodities front, especially for wheat exporters. India has officially reopened wheat exports, giving the green light for 2.5 million tons to be sold. This decision is clearly backed by some very healthy stock levels. Private stocks are up significantly from last year, and the central government pool is projected to be over 18 million tons.
And finally, in the world of mergers and acquisitions, the pharmaceutical firm Alchem is making a big strategic play to get into medical devices. Its unit has agreed to buy a controlling stake up to 55% in a Swiss firm called Oculatech Holding. The price tag is nearly 100 million euros, and the deal is expected to close by this June.
All right, let's shift over to the opinion pages and see what the editorial digest has for us.
The Hindu's editorial board is taking a look at the recent revision of India's Consumer Price Index, or CPI, and they're calling it an overdue upgrade. Basically, their whole argument is that this change was absolutely necessary and a major improvement in how the country actually measures inflation.
So what's the big change? At its core, it's a significant drop in how much weight is given to food and beverages in the CPI calculation. It's going from almost 46% of the index all the way down to about 37%. Why does that matter? Because it's meant to reflect how people spend money today, not years ago, giving a much more accurate picture of what real-world inflation actually looks like.
And finally, let's close things out with the verified numbers from the market.
Okay, looking at the close, the BSE Sensex finished at 82,626.76. That's down 1.3% on Friday and off 0.9% for the week. The Nifty 50 told a very similar story, closing at 25,471.10, also down 1.3% for the day and 0.9% for the week. And that concludes today's briefing. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest.